You know the pose. We've all seen it 1,000 times. Captain Comet leaps from a skyscraper, plummets toward the Earth like a meteor, lands with spectacular grace. One fist smashes into the ground. One knee is bent. The other leg is extended back for balance. She looks up, stoic and ready for action. Pavement cracks radiate around her fist in a perfect circle. The three-point landing, the go-to dramatic entrance. It looks awesome. But I'm a professional skeptic and a builder of things. Is any of that even remotely possible? I've spent years separating fact from cinematic fiction. The superhero landing is visual poetry. What we see is a massive, catastrophic collision dressed as a cool pose. Our intuition says a fall from that height should end very differently. So let's put on our safety goggles, grab our calculators, and bust this myth wide open. The core problem is physics, kinetic energy, and the conservation of momentum. Falling builds tremendous energy that must go somewhere on impact. In movies, that energy seems to disappear. Let's get some numbers. Imagine Captain Comet, 200 pounds, jumps off a 50-story building. That's a 500-foot drop, about 150 meters. Ignoring air resistance, she hits the ground at 125 miles per hour. That's highway speed, pointed straight down. The real danger isn't the fall, it's the stop. She goes from 125 miles per hour to 0 in an instant. The deceleration? Over 250 Gs. Fighter pilots max out at 9. Our hero takes more than 25 times that. The energy, like a small car hitting a wall. So that superhero landing? It's basically a car crash, concentrated in one spot. We've established that our hero's landing is like a car crash. But let's dig into that comparison a little deeper to truly appreciate the scale of destruction we're talking about. A car is designed with crumple zones, specific areas in the front and rear that are meant to deform and absorb the energy of an impact, extending the time of the collision and protecting the occupants. When our superhero lands, there is no crumple zone. Her body and the ground beneath her become the crumple zone. All that energy, equivalent to a family sedan slamming into a wall, is focused into 3 small points: one fist, one knee, and one foot. Think about other real-world impacts. A professional boxer can deliver a punch with about 1,000 pounds of force. Our hero's landing delivers a force of over 50,000 pounds. It's like comparing a firecracker to a stick of dynamite. Or consider a high diver entering the water with pointed toes and straight arms to slice through the surface. Our hero is doing the exact opposite. She is maximizing the impact force by stopping as quickly as possible. It is the most inefficient and destructive way to land imaginable, designed for cinematic flair rather than survival. Let's talk about what that force would do to the ground. Concrete is strong under compression but shatters easily under a sudden focused impact. The pressure exerted by that fist would be thousands of pounds per square inch. The pavement wouldn't just crack gracefully, it would explode. It would shatter into a cloud of dust and jagged fragments, creating a crater several feet wide. Pipes and cables buried beneath the street, water mains, gas lines, fiber optics, would be instantly severed. The impact would create a shockwave through the ground, a miniature earthquake that could shatter windows in nearby buildings and knock people off their feet. And what about the sound? All that energy has to go somewhere, and a good portion of it would be converted into sound. We're not talking about the satisfying thud you hear in the movies. We're talking about an explosive boom, like a high-caliber rifle being fired right next to your ear, or perhaps even closer to a small bomb detonating. Every gym teacher and parachute instructor in the world tells you the same thing: bend your knees when you land. It's the first rule of not shattering your ankles when you jump off a chair. The idea is to increase the time it takes for you to stop, which decreases peak force. This is absolutely true. A paratrooper performs a parachute landing fall, or PLF. They hit the ground with their feet together, knees bent, and immediately roll. The roll distributes impact across the calves, thighs, hips, back. Show diagram: PLF versus superhero three-point landing. They turn a sudden stop into a less sudden tumble, spreading deceleration over time and surface area. So, couldn't our superhero just bend her knees really well to survive? Let's examine the pose again. One knee is bent, the other leg is extended. A fist is planted firmly on the ground. This isn't for absorbing impact, it's for bracing. By putting a hand down, she directs massive energy up her arm, through the elbow, through the shoulder, and into the torso. The human arm is not a suspension strut. The bones would fracture. Radius, ulna, humerus. The shoulder joint would likely dislocate and tear apart. It's a biomechanical nightmare. We've talked about the destructive force, but let's get specific about the chain reaction of doom upon impact. The energy has to go somewhere, and it will follow the path of least resistance. First, the ground. As Captain Comet's fist strikes the pavement, the concrete beneath it would fail catastrophically. It wouldn't just crack, it would pulverize. The impact would create a superheated plasma at the point of contact for a microsecond, blasting a crater into the asphalt and dirt below. The shockwave would propagate outwards, turning solid ground into a liquid-like mess for a few milliseconds, a phenomenon called liquefaction. Anyone standing within 20 feet would be thrown violently to the ground. Simultaneously, that energy would travel up the hero's body. Let's start with the fist on the ground. The bones in her hand would be crushed into powder. The shockwave would travel up her arm, shattering her radius, shattering her ulna. Her elbow joint would hyperextend and rupture. The humerus would likely snap in half, and the ball of the bone would be driven through her shoulder socket, shattering her scapula, shattering her clavicle. This isn't an injury. It's a complete structural failure of the limb. Her arm would be reduced to a bag of bone fragments, shredded muscle, and severed nerves, all in less time than it takes to blink. The same thing would happen to her legs. So, we've established that a superhero landing is a physical impossibility that would result in a crater, a deafening boom, and a very, very messy end for anyone who tried it. It breaks bones, shatters pavement, and generally violates every rule of momentum and energy transfer we hold dear. And yet, we love it. I love it. We cheer every single time Iron Man slams into the ground, Black Widow strikes that iconic pose. Why? Because it's not about realism. It's about mythology. It's about communicating a story in the most visually exciting way possible. The superhero landing is a masterstroke of genius. These moments aren't meant to be scientifically accurate. They are a form of communication. The landing tells us everything we need to know about the character without a single word of dialogue. It tells us they are powerful, durable, and in complete control. They don't tumble and fall like the rest of us mortals. They arrive. The cracked pavement isn't a sign of infrastructural damage. It's a visual exclamation point on their power. A modern-day equivalent of the gods of mythology descending from Mount Olympus. We don't question how Zeus throws a lightning bolt. We just accept it as divine might. The superhero landing functions the same way. Ultimately, the superhero landing is a beautiful lie. A piece of physical poetry that prioritizes awesomeness over accuracy. Our cinematic landscape is richer for it. It's a testament to the power of visual storytelling. So next time a hero plummets from the sky and strikes that perfect pose, don't scoff at the impossible physics. Instead, smile. Appreciate the sheer audacity of it. Celebrate the glorious, bone-shattering, pavement-exploding impossibility of it all.